Good morning, everyone. Could you please could you please stand for a moment of silence when the first tower was struck on 9/11? Thank you. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by our Putnam County Sheriff Cadets and County Executive Kevin Byrne. Please remain standing while Jacob Carbello and Michaela Versano lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight
For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Detail. Order. Right. Face. Forward.
Please remain standing while Pastor Jennifer Boyd leads us in the invocation.
Detail. Parade rest.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, it is still unfathomable, even these many years later, whether it's moments of silence, the tears that remain for many years, it still seems like a horror dream. As we remember this day, we remember the sacrifices of so many who gave their lives, who rushed in when so many were struggling to get out. We give thanks for their life and for their service. May we see this way in which they served sacrificially as a way for us to care for one another in this day. May they serve as an inspiration. As much as we mourn them, may we celebrate them and what they stood for. We offer all these up in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ.
Thank you. Welcome to the Putnam County Youth Bureau's annual Lead 9/11 Memorial. We're all honored to be here today to pay tribute to our heroes. And while we are with you, youth are also gathered at Haldane High School in a synchronized effort to recognize the spirit of altruism that showed in a time of need. The Putnam County Youth Bureau and Haldane School District join countless organizations across America to remember the 2,983 women, men, and children who lost their lives on September 11, 2001, while also recognizing those who have passed since then as a result of their heroic efforts in the aftermath of this tragedy. We gather today in remembrance of the 24th anniversary of September 11th and involve people of all ages, including youth who were not yet born. Like so many, Putnam County has felt the effects as a community and through the families who lost loved ones. Many of our own residents selflessly responded that day when our region, our state, our nation was in crisis. We pay homage to all that were affected after recognizing those from Putnam County, knowing that each community will do the same for those they have lost. We still feel their absence, as does our nation. September 11th is also Patriots Day. We ask for a moment of silence to honor our fallen. Today is a chance to recapture the spirit of unity that swept the nation in the aftermath of September 11th, 2001, while paying tribute to those lost with acts of service. We thank our brave first responders, service members, and countless others who defend the nation's freedom at home and around the globe. Thank you to everyone for attending this memorial, and at this time, please hold your applause while I recognize some of the dignitaries that are here. Putnam County Executive Kevin Bryan, New York State Congressman Mike Lawler, representing New York Senator Pete Harcum, New York Senator Rob Rollison, represented by Giselle Garbello, New York State Assemblyman Matt Slater, Putnam County Legislator District 1 Nancy Montgomery, Putnam County Legislator representing District 2 William Goldman, Putnam County Legislator representing District 3 Tony Anzino, Putnam County Legislator representing District 4 Ginny Menacero, Putnam County Legislator representing District 5, Greg Elmer. Putnam County Legislator representing District 3, Paul Yonge. Putnam County Legislator representing District 7, Joseph Castellano. Putnam County Legislator representing District 8, Amy Sage. Putnam County Legislator representing District 9, Aaron Crowley. Commissioner of Social Services, Mental Health, and Youth Bureau, Sarah Sarvadillo. Deputy Commissioner of Mental Health and Youth Bureau, Nicole McGuire. Commissioner of Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services, Robert Lemon. Deputy Commissioner of the Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services, Ralph Falloon. Deputy County Clerk, Mark Badalote. Garrison Volunteer Fire Company, Sandy Bull and Wendy Heinz. Director of the Veteran Services Agency, Carl Rode. Deputy Director of the Veterans Service Agency, Tanya Pananella. Chief of the Robert Linton. Volunteer Ambulance Corps, David Jacobson. Acting Putnam County Sheriff, Brian Hess. Putnam County Under Sheriff, James Menton. Town of Kent Police Chief, Kevin Owens. Pastor Jennifer Board from the Trinity Lutheran Church. Putnam County Board President, William Wilkins. Thank you. Now Sophia Salvatore will read the Putnam County Proclamation.
Recognizing the Putnam County Youth Bureau and Haldane School District on the Youth Bureau 9/11 Memorials. Whereas on September 11, 2001, the peace and security of our nation was shattered by terrorist attacks that killed more than 3,000 innocent people. 19 terrorists hijacked 4 commercial planes, crashing them into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, the United States Pentagon in Virginia, and in the pristine fields of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And whereas, although the terrorist goal was to turn havoc of our nation, realizing from the ashes of that a remarkable spirit of unity, compassion, and determination that will never be forgotten.
Many brave individuals tirelessly participated in an extraordinarily difficult and dangerous rescue and recovery effort, in some cases voluntarily putting their own well-being at risk. Each year, the anniversary of the attack is a sacred day in both Putnam County and throughout the country as citizens honor the memory of all those who were lost that day. And whereas the Putnam County Youth Bureau recognizes the importance of introducing this tradition to the younger members of our community. The Youth Bureau will host their 5th annual Youth Flag 9/11 Memorial, where youth volunteers will commemorate the 24th anniversary of the September 11, 2001 attacks, honor by reading aloud the names of those who have lost their lives. This year, the Putnam County Youth Bureau, in partnership with Haldane School District, expands its reach by synchronizing youth memorials on both sides of the country in honor of our fallen heroes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature hereby recognize the efforts of the Putnam County Youth Bureau and Haldane School District and encourage residents of Putnam County to participate in the youth-led 9/11 memorials. The public is invited to attend the memorial at Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services, and the memorial at Haldane School District will be related to students, faculty, and community officials. Signed by Kevin Moore, Public County Executive, and Amy Sage, Chair of Putnam County Youth Bureau. We would now like to invite Tom McMillan, Deputy Director of Putnam County Veteran Service Agency, retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, to deliver our keynote presentation.
Today is a day of remembrance. It was 24 years ago today that 4 planes of 1997 almost 3,000 lives were lost. It was a sunny, clear Tuesday morning. The skies were blue. By all accounts, a beautiful September day. I remember quite well, since I was driving to work in White Plains. It was going to be just another day at work. So the media announced that first plane had just crashed into the World Trade Center, followed by a second plane crashing into the center tower. Within a few hours, towers collapsed into the rubble, demolishing a large section of Lower Manhattan. A third plane hit the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and the fourth plane, its passengers and crew, fought back and downed the plane in the field in Shanksville, PA. For all, time stood still. Everyone watched the real-time coverage of the attacks and their aftermath, as it was nationally broadcasted on all media platforms. We watched and felt horror, shock, chaos, and fear. Silence loomed. Tears flowed. Life as we knew it just changed. As a military officer that had just left the active army for family, recently locating to New York, and continuing my service with the New York Army National Guard, knew immediately I'd be called to respond. There was no hesitation on my part, as I deferred my job, telling my boss I honestly did not know when I would return. The New York Army National and Air National Guard members mobilized at their armories and air bases across the state to respond with rescue efforts at the Cyber Towers. An emergency response center was quickly established at our brigade headquarters, and as a logistical officer, I was sent down with my maintenance chief to complete a reconnaissance inspection of the site to determine site layout, logistical needs of troops on ground, route establishment, and to report back with all needs. I was the eyes and ears on ground for our higher headquarters. It was no more than 2 hours after the towers fell that I was on the road in an emergency vehicle to Lower Manhattan. I was not prepared for what I was about to see. The FDR Drive had no vehicles heading into the city, just out. The city that never sleeps was still. It left you with an uneasy feeling, full of apprehension. And as we got closer to ground zero, Lower Manhattan was smoldering. Ash was dropping like snow from the sky. Roads were blocked with vehicles abandoned. The sounds were deafening. Alarms were going off from vehicles that looked to be buried under piles of snow. A demolished fire truck with the sirens still running and lights still flashing, mangled and on its side. Chinatown deserted, windows blown out, debris everywhere. But it was the actual site where the Twin Towers once stood that cannot be described in words. We've all seen media clips, but to stand at the site just a few hours after the attack, there are no words. I have not spoken about that day to me. Chaos can be the only word to describe the days and weeks that followed. As a military officer, it was just 24/7 of constant reaction to challenging situations. I spent 48 hours on site just helping in recovery efforts and reporting back the ground commander's needs. The biggest need was a place for the troops to rest,
feet and recover. Initial thought by the commanding officer of the Division of Military and Naval Affairs was to use Randall's Island as a staging area. Tons of tents, cots, and equipment were brought in just to find out that a tent peg could not be secured in the ground. It was originally a New York City waste and debris site. The tent pegs could not be dug in and just kept popping out. Plans were changed and decision was made to use all New York City armories as recovery operations for all first responders. Drill floors were now home to thousands of cots, food, water stations, medical, personnel management, and operations centers. The other need was to be able to communicate. The radios used by the emergency crew and first responders were inoperable. Cell phone networks were overwhelmed, and trying to secure radios and the ability to communicate was now an urgent mission. The New York Army National Guard was also used early on for its engineer battalion's heavy equipment, bulldozers, loaders, dump trucks. This equipment and its operators had to convoy from Fort Drum, New York to New York City. It was a logistical nightmare with roads blocked from debris in the city. The mission for the military would change as the days, weeks, and months passed, from recovery to cleanup to security of airports, trains, subways, bridges, and tunnels. This mission would become known as Joint Task Force Empire Shield, under the Department of Defense's mobilization of National Guard forces as part of Operation Noble Eagle, a massive homeland security mission at airports and federal installations. Security became the main mission. The response to 9/11 after the terrorist acts was a call to war. Operation Enduring Freedom, OEF, which was the official name used for the first stage of war in Afghanistan and a larger scale global war on terrorism. Patriotism flourished, and many answered the call to serve their country in response to the 9/11 attacks by enlisting in all branches of the military. Deployments became the norm. The New York Army National and Air National Guard soldiers who responded that day on September 11th also deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other areas in the years following. I was returned to active duty status due to 9/11, where I continue to serve my country. I also deployed with the New York Army National Guard 53rd Army Liaison Team to Iraq in 2009. I worked for the CJ-3 Operations Division, Joint Staff, under the Commanding General of Multinational Forces Iraq, as a Joint Interagency Task Force Team Leader. Today I continue to serve as a Veteran Service Officer, filing claims for compensation and disability with the VA for service members and their families here in Putnam County. Thank you. To further understand what it was like on that tragic day, Nick Fleece, Audrey Hamlin, and Aaron Killian will be reading witness and survivor testimonials.
Why did the worst day of our lives start out so nice? Otherwise, September 11th was beautiful. It was one of those days that you picture them having all the time in California. There literally was not a cloud in the sky. It was promising a high of around 80 degrees. I got off at Chambers Street and began a long walk to One World Trade Center. I walked through the underground mall just like I would do any other day. The last thing I remember before the world changed forever was that I was thinking how empty the mall was. I was about 50 feet from the revolving doors when all of a sudden the lights went out for a second and came back on. I quickly glanced over at a cop who looked up and reacted. I did. It's not something you see every day, but probably nothing to be alarmed about. What I saw next happened so quickly I barely had time to react. I noticed that the lobby of Tower 1 almost instantly filled up with a rolling brown cloud from floor to ceiling. I stopped when all of a sudden, boom, the entire lobby exploded. The revolving doors in front of me just vaporized. Amazingly, nothing hit me. There was a second of silence as everyone started to comprehend what happened, and then all of the running and screaming started. I have never run so fast in my life.
At the time, I was working as a computer tech in the Pentagon, supporting So it was the end of the day. I was on the shore trip when I overheard on a police radio at 8:46 a.m. a plane crashing into the World Trade Center. I thought that it was extremely strange that I finally missed a giant skyscraper while flying so low. As I returned to the police headquarters, and was subsequently crashed into a self-taught car. Without question, I knew that this had to do something with terrorism. We were told to respond and to call, but I knew that could not sit and wait too long. I added my name, being compelled by the Cadman County Emergency Management Coordinator to call. Just as my shift ended, I returned home to my home and took my first bite of early dinner when I received the call from the department to respond. I got dressed as I was ready for. Little did I know that's exactly where I was going, a war zone. Arriving in Jersey City, authorities were not allowed to go to New York City. For something that they and I continued. And I continued trying to find alternative routes over the Hudson River. A Jersey City police sergeant made an announcement that he needed 20 EMTs to accompany him on a boat over to the city. I noticed 5 police officers from Redwood Township staying over as we watched. I was and had told them to follow me. All of us made our ways as 6 of the 20 EMTs of the Jersey City officer was taking us to the city. Once I arrived, we left the EMTs to their duties. And I stopped and searched other police officers and arrests to see how I can help. I will add that as soon as I stepped off the boat, we emerged into another world.
Michael Machad, survivor of the Pentagon. At the time, I was working in computer tech in the Pentagon, supporting the headquarters department of the Army. My desk was in room 1D 639, and I had no idea that the planes had already hit the World Trade Center. My supervisor assigned me a trouble ticket to go fix a computer just before 9 that morning. I walked into John Shada's office and had a pleasant conversation with him. While there, our government director, Mike Sells, came in. I said a pleasant good morning to him and commented on the beautiful view he had through his thick green windows. A joke, of course. He could even see the helicopter pad. Little did I know that would be the last time I would see or speak to either one of them. When I got back to my desk, it was around 9:15. There was an email from Scott Powell telling me that he had a computer that he wanted me to test. I responded to him, bring it on. He never left his office. If I had only been 5 or 10 minutes earlier. I remember several things about that moment as I sat at my desk when the plane hit. The heat, the dust, the thunderous noise. Initially, I thought that a boiler room had exploded above my head and the ceiling would cave in. My supervisor at the time still talks about sending me down to fix John's computer and how he specifically assigned that ticket to me because he knew I could fix it quickly. There are so many more things about that day, but those are the ones that stick in my mind the most. Not a day goes by that I don't think about that day. And the friends, the fellow Americans, the fellow people that we all lost that day. We would like to now turn it over to Alexander Romero, who will be reading the first student essay on behalf of Patrick Shields from Haldane High School. Patrick is also the nephew of Christopher Shields, Putnam County Director of Emergency Management.
My father, Patrick Shields, had been a New York City fireman for 27 years. September 11, 2001, the day that changed my father and my family significantly. Although 9/11 was 24 years ago, it has been very relevant in my life. It all started on my dad's first day of vacation from his firehouse. He was in Garrison when my grandmother told him to let him know that a plane hit the World Trade Center in New York City. There was a total recall for all off-duty New York City firemen to report to the firehouse. The total recall had not been called to the fire department of New York since World War II. My dad has 2 brothers. One is also a New York City fireman, and the other brother worked as a first responder in the Treasury Department in Washington, D.C. All three brothers were told to go to the Twin Towers, only being able to imagine what they were about to witness. While my grandparents watched the event unfold from the living room. When he got to his firehouse, he commandeered the New York City bus, which transported my dad and 20 other firemen down to ground zero. My father saw the total destruction. 16 acres of steel and concrete were obliterated. He began searching for survivors for 8 days straight. After a few weeks passed, he retrieved the remains of humans instead of survivors as they became a recovery operation. My father never found a whole body while searching, only body parts. Once, my dad came across an arm with a ring still on the finger. My dad placed his arm in the box, hoping it might identify the family this person belonged to. Other orders my dad had to complete and see during these crucial hours and days are unspeakable and very traumatizing. Although it was 24 years ago, this terrorist attack constantly impacts him on a daily basis. My dad and both his brothers survived these attacks, but spent months and months working on recovery projects and attending numerous wakes and funerals. All 11 members of my dad's firehouse who were working on 9/11 had died. It was like losing 11 brothers to him. The title of this essay is What 9/11 Means to Me. What it means to me is struggle and courage. To say that I am proud of my father and all other rescuers for the blood, sweat, and tears during this unprecedented time in our country is an understatement. Every September 11th, my family tries to do something special together. Not as a celebration, but as a way to help my dad get through the day. The media coverage is brutal for him and brings back the worst time of his life. It is a very sad day in our house. 8 long years, my dad was finally able to find happiness in numbers of 9/11. When I was born and they placed me on a scale, I weighed exactly 9 pounds and 11 ounces. If there's one thing I want everyone to carry from today, is to live every day to its fullest. Life is unpredictable, and one morning you might wake up and the world is no longer the same. So don't take any moment for granted. For our second student essay chosen, Chloe Lax will deliver the piece that she composed on what September 11th means to her. Chloe is a junior at Middlepack High School.
My name is Chloe Lax. I am 16 years old and I was born and raised in Mayapack, New York. For as long as I have lived, the New York City skyline has been about the two iconic 110-story buildings that stood in the financial district of Lower Manhattan for 28 years. Although I was not alive to witness the attacks that led to their collapse, it is something that I have long learned about. Clips, documentaries, and stories from my parents, teachers, and neighbors. Although I was not yet born when that tragedy occurred, that historic day has shaped the world in which my peers and I grew up, as well as the way I understand heroism, resilience, and community. Today, 24 years later, we mourn the lives lost in those cruel attacks. We recognize the survivors who had to continue their lives with the lingering effects of that catastrophic day, and we honor those who died trying to save the lives of others at the expense of their own. At just about this time, at 8:46 a.m. exactly 24 years ago, the North Tower of the World Trade Center was struck by a commercial airplane, American Airlines Flight 11. Many believe the plane crash to be a tragic accident, not an act of war. News channels turned their cameras towards the North Tower and the billowing smoke that was erupting from it. And as they were providing coverage on the aftermath of the crash, approximately 20 minutes later at 9:03 a.m., the South Tower was hit by another commercial airplane, United Airlines Flight 175. This brought forth an awful realization for the people of New York City and the United States as a whole. These were not tragic accidents. We were under attack. Unbeknownst to the public at the time, there were 2 other passenger airplanes destined for a similar fate that day. Later that morning, at 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense in Arlington, Virginia. And at 10:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93, a plane on track to strike the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C., plowed into an empty field in western Pennsylvania. Thanks to heroic passengers who intervened, United Airlines Flight 93 did not reach Washington, D.C., and their sacrifice saved the lives of countless others. Within the span of about an hour and a First of all, I find it extremely important to recognize the first responders who saved many lives that would have otherwise been lost on that historic day. On September 11th, thousands of first responders, including firefighters, military personnel, paramedics, and law enforcement officers were on the front lines protecting our country and its citizens. As a result, over 400 of them lost their lives, and it is because of their courage and sacrifice that many people are still alive today. Not only first responders helped out communities during this time, however. In New York City, following the attacks, around 100,000 people, including debris cleanup workers, rescue teams, and many volunteers, worked for over 8 months to clean up what became known as Ground Zero. The attacks on September 11th did not only change airport security, but also the spirit of New Yorkers as a whole. And before I conclude, I would like to share a personal story. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 68-year-old Pat Rajek, retired captain in the United States Army's Fighting 69th and lieutenant colonel of the New York Guard, sits up in his bed. It is quiet, the sun is shining, and the sky is a beautiful blue. He turns on his radio, as he does every morning, and tunes to a news channel. The North Tower of the World Trade Center has just been hit by a commercial airline. A puzzled look comes across his face, but he does not worry. That is until he hears another announcement stating that the South Tower of the World Trade Center had been hit by another airplane. Pat stands up, gets dressed, heads out into his car, and drives from his house in the Bronx to Camp Smith, the base where he trained. He enters the camp, which in a few hours would be flooded with people, but was now quiet. His commander approaches him, confused, and asks him, "Why are you here? Who called you?" "No one called me," he responded. "My country is under attack, and I have come to help in any way that I can." He was my grandfather, and though he was not a man that I knew well, I feel that I know him through the stories told to me by his loving children. Hearing the stories of first responders who ran in the direction of danger, of passengers who gave their lives to save others, and of my grandfather, who was just an ordinary man, willing to help in any way that he could the instant he sensed an emergency, has changed the way that I understand bravery, sacrifice, and what it means to care for people that you may never even know. The legacy of this day has taught me that in the face of darkness and evil, there will always be a light that can be found in all of us when we come together. So I encourage you to be like Pat. I encourage you to not only remember the tragedy of September 11th, 2001 with words or silence, but with actions that honor those of the heroes. And no, you don't have to run into a burning building. Go hold the door for someone. Invite someone sitting alone to join you. Do something nice just for the sole purpose of making someone else feel good. Because when we choose unity over division, we create a world where kindness thrives and possibilities are endless. Thank you. Putnam County, like so many other communities, lost heroes on September 11th, 2001. Reading the names of the fallen will be Rosemary Mahoney.
Putnam County citizens who lost their lives on September 11th. Christopher Blackwell, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. George C. Kane, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. Stephen P. Driscoll, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. David Lawrence William Fodor, World Trade Center, South Tower. Daniel E. Harlan, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. Thomas J. Kuvekis, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. Robert J. Manara, first responder, World Trade Center, South Tower. George Parrish, World Trade Center, North Tower. Putnam County citizens who lost their lives as a result of their actions in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. All of the following were first responders: Glenn L. Bizania, Donald G. Easer, Charles E. Putnam, Thomas J. Kelly, Michael P. King, Thomas Lyons, John McArdle, John F. McDonald, Robert McMahon, Thomas Roberts, David Rufo, Mark Seno, Bridget Sullivan, Patrick A. Sarkey, Edward V. Teagan, Thomas Arvin Doran, Ronald B. Vance, John J. Vaughn, and John Perry. Also, among those lost was our Putnam County Sheriff, Kevin J. McConville, who had over 30 years of service in the NTA Police Department. He managed the NTA's response at Grand Central on September 11, 2001.
In 2021, he was elected sheriff of Putnam County, the community that he loved. Please stand for the playing of taps and place your hand over your heart.
Detail. Attention.
To conclude our memorial, we invite Isa de Rosa to deliver our closing remarks.
Detail. Parade rest.
Thank you for attending today's memorial for all the lives we lost on September 11th and the days since the attack. Though many were lost, their spirits will live on through us. While that day was a tragedy, we remember the brave actions of our first responders and community members. For the courage and compassion displayed 24 years ago was not that of nameless individuals. These were our neighbors, friends, and family members. Many of our fellow students had parents and loved ones who assisted in the rescue and recovery efforts, protecting others from further harm, even when they were not required to do so. To the men and women who proudly serve our country, we can never adequately express the depths of our gratitude with words. Your selfless contributions and countless sacrifices have positively impacted us all. Our community is made stronger because of you. We hope that everyone here today will reflect on how we responded during a national crisis and encourage all to pay homage through acts of service. Giving back is something we do throughout the entire year, but today can serve as a reminder of why it is so crucial. Love for our neighbors, community, and nation is not something that was lost. Though many of us speaking today may not have experienced the events of September 11th firsthand, these ideals exist in each of us and are evident in the way that we support each other over and understated ways. Thank you for attending today's memorial.